it's very tough to organize all these technical things. So, ways of seeing. Last week I asked you to get a copy of the article and at the same time to watch the documentary which is produced by the BBC. And this documentary is actually the book visually narrated. So it's the same material, but once it is written and the other time it is visually filmed. Since this class is about visual studies, we need of course to pay more attention to what is visual than what is written. And I think that we cannot just skip to the visual without providing you also with some material to read. That's why. The purpose, of course, of this class is to, let's say, develop your linguistic, both oral and written capacities, but it's also intended to develop your visual literacy. So in this class, we are indeed trying to develop your visual literacy.
من 1972 هذا 1972 مبروك من مسرحية فكرة حلقة جديدة يبي
So, I was trying then to say that this class is intended to develop your visual literacy or simply your visual knowledge. Since today you belong to a visual, global, digital world. And in such a new context, you need to know the means and the ways of reading images. Images are everywhere around you. They are actually bombarding us all from early in the morning till late at night. You keep watching TV, you keep checking your email, you keep exchanging videos, etc., etc. So even this selfie today is part of this visual communication. So this class, therefore, is a real introduction to what we can call visual studies. I selected for you different materials. The first is ways of seeing, because it's probably one of the masterpieces, or maybe the classics, of this new visual culture. It's produced, it was produced in 1971 or 2 by John Berger, who is of course a scholar, and in this he was also a professor of history of arts, and he both produced the book and the documentary, of course with the partnership of the BBC. In this book you will, or at least these 2 articles I selected for you, but of course you are free to download the book if you want, to buy it, or to watch the whole documentary. I selected for you only 2 articles, and because I wanted you to study John Berger's book, but at the same time to study other materials that I will let you know in due time. The first article is what I will try first to show you, because maybe many of you did not watch the documentary, and it's now time for you at least to be familiar with what John Berger is saying. And immediately after the video, I will try, or we will try to talk about what John Berger means by ways of seeing. So let us first start with the video, and then after that we can move to something else.
First of 4 programs which are on question some of the assumptions usually made about the tradition of European thinking. That tradition was born about 1400, died off that year. Tonight, this is so much techniques themselves, which I want to consider spontaneous and natural than we tend to believe. A large part of seeing depends upon having convention. All the paintings of the tradition used the convention of perspective, which is unique to European art. Now, perspective centers everything on the eye of the beholder. It's like a view from a lighthouse. Instead of light traveling outwards, appearances travel in. Our tradition of art called those appearances reality. Perspective makes the eye the center of the visible world. But the human eye can only be in one place at a time. It takes its visible world with it as it walks. With the invention of the camera, everything changed. We could see things which were not there in front of us. Appearances would travel across the world. It was no longer so easy to think of appearances always traveling regularly to a single center.
I am an eye, a mechanical eye. I, the machine, can show you a world the way only I can see it. I free myself for today and forever from human immobility. I am in constant movement. I approach and pull away from objects. I creep under them. I move alongside a running horse's mouth. I fall and rise with the falling and rising bodies. This is I, the machine, maneuvering in the chaotic movements, recording one movement after another in the most complex combinations. Free from the boundaries of time and space, I coordinate any and all points of the universe wherever I want them to be. My way leads towards the creation of a fresh perception of the world. Thus I explain, in a new way, the world unknown to you.
Those words are from a manifesto written in 1923 by Ziga Bertov, the Russian film director, and the images are from a film he made in 1928 called The Man with the Camera. The invention of the camera has changed not only what we see, but how we see it. And in a crucial but quite simple way, it has even changed paintings painted long before it was invented. The painting on the wall, like a human eye, can only be in one place at one time. The camera reproduces it, making it available in any size, anywhere, for any purpose. Botticelli's Venus and Mars used to be a unique image, which it was only possible to see in the room where it was actually hanging. Now its image or detail on it, or the image of any other painting which is reproduced, can be seen in a million different places at the same time. As you look at them now, on your screen, your wallpaper is round them. Your window is opposite them. Your carpet is below them. At this same moment, they are on many other screens, surrounded by different objects, different colors, different sounds. You are seeing them in the context of your own life. They are surrounded not by gilt frames, but by the familiarity of the room you are in, and the people around you. Once, all these paintings belonged to their own place. Some were altarpieces in churches. Originally, paintings were an integral part of the building for which they were designed. Sometimes, when you go into a Renaissance church or chapel, you have the feeling that the images on the wall are records of the building's interior life. Together, they make up the building's memory. So much are they part of the life and individuality of the building. Everything around the image is part of it. Its uniqueness is part of the uniqueness of the single place where it is. Everything around it confirms and consolidates its meaning. The extreme example is the icon. Worshippers conversion of it. God. Before it, believers close their eyes. They do not need to go on looking at it. They know that it marks the place of meaning. Now, it belongs to no place. And you can see such an icon in your home. The images come to you. You do not need them. The days of pilgrimage are over. It is the image of the painting which travels now. Just as the image of me standing here in the studio travels to you and appears on your screen. The meaning of painting no longer resides in its unique painted surface, which it is only possible to see in one place at one time. Its meaning, or a large part of it, has become transmittable. It comes to you, this meaning, like the news of an event. It has become information of sort. The faces of paintings become messages, pieces of information to be used, even used, to persuade us to help purchase more of the originals, which these very reproductions have in many ways replaced. But, original paintings are still unique. They look different from how they look on the television screen or on postcards. Reproductions distort. Only a few facsimiles don't. Take this original painting to the National Gallery. Only what you are seeing is still not the original. I'm in front of it. I can see it. This painting by Leonardo is unlike any other in the world. The National Gallery has a real one. It isn't fake, it's authentic. If I go to the National Gallery and look at this painting, somehow I should be able to feel this authenticity, the version of the box by Leonardo da Vinci. It is beautiful, for that alone. Nearly everything that we learn or read about art encourages an attitude and expectation rather like that. The National Gallery catalogue is for art experts. The entry of this painting is about 14 pages long, densely written. They are about who commissioned the painting, legal models, who owned it, its likely date, the pedigree of its owners. Behind this information lie years of research. What for? To prove beyond any shadow of doubt that it is a genuine Leonardo, and to prove that the almost identical painting in the Louvre is in fact a replica. French art historians try to prove the opposite. For this drawing by Leonardo, the Americans wanted to pay £2.5 million. Now, it hangs in a room by itself, like a chapel, behind bulletproof persons. The lights are kept low so as to prevent the drawing from fading. But why is it so important to preserve and display this stuff? It's acquired a kind of new impressiveness, but not because of what it shows, not because of the meaning of its image. It's become a serious game because of its market value, and this market value depends upon it being genuine. And now, it is here like a relic in a holy shrine. I don't want to suggest that there's nothing left to experience before original works of art, except a certain sense of awe, because they have survived, because they're genuine, because they're absurdly valuable. A lot more is possible, but only if art is stripped of the false mystery and the false religiosity which surrounds it. This religiosity, usually linked with cash value, but always invoked in the name of culture and civilization, is in fact a substitute for what paintings lost when the camera made them reproducible. The National Gallery sell more reproductions of this Leonardo cartoon than of any other picture. But what are the meanings these reproductions acquire in each home when they're hung up into the wall? And how different are all these meanings from its original one, when Leonardo first worked on it to work out an idea for a painting? destroying its unique original meaning. Have works of art gained anything by this? They have lost and gained. Let me try to explain how. The most important thing about paintings themselves is that their images are silent, still. I can't demonstrate the stillness, for the lines on your screen are never still. And in a sense, the pages of a book are never still. But I can demonstrate the silence. Occasionally, this uninterrupted silence and the stillness of the painting can be very striking. The experience of this has almost nothing to do with what anybody teaches about art. It's as if the painting, absolutely still, soundless, becomes a corridor, connecting the moment each represents with the moment at which you are looking at it. And something travels down that corridor at speed greater than light, throwing into question our way of measuring time itself. Because paintings are silent and still, and because their meaning is no longer attached to them, but has become transmittable, paintings lend themselves to easy manipulation. They can be used to make arguments or points which may be different, very different from their original meaning. And because paintings are essentially silent and still, the most obvious way of manipulating them is by using movement and sound. The camera moves in to remove a detail of the painting from the whole. Its meaning changes. An allegorical figure becomes a pretty girl anywhere. From being part of a strange poetical world of metamorphosis, a dog can be turned into a pet, not unlike the dog in his master's voice. The meaning of a painting shown on film or television can be changed even more radically. This is a painting by Bruegel, or rather a reproduction of a painting by Bruegel, on the road to Calvary. If you look at the whole painting, Bruegel's intention is very clear. In the right foreground of Mary and John and the mourners of Christ. Christ carrying the cross is in the middle distance, carried forward by the crowd, which is making its way to the place of the crucifixes, far away on the right, where a circle of onlookers has already gathered. If you look at the whole picture, you see that it is about grief, about torture, and above all about the callousness, the eager inquisitiveness, the superstitious drive of the crowd. If it sets out to be a religious painting, it is an oddly secular one. But the difficulty is that on a screen, if you keep the whole painting in view, you don't see very much. You have been waiting impatiently for the camera to go in to examine details. Yet, as soon as this happens, the comprehensive effect of the painting can be changed. For example, it is possible to isolate and show the details in a way that makes the painting look like a fairly straightforward devotional picture. With a different camera movement again, it can be shown as an example of landscape painting. All details are presented to you in terms of the history of costume or social customs. Most easily, it can be presented as a story. Two thieves being carted to the place of crucifixion, Christ carrying the cross. In a film sequence, the details have to be selected and rearranged into a narrative which depends on unfolding time. Yet, in the painting as a whole, all these elements are there simultaneously. In paintings, there is no unfolding time. As well as by the movements of the camera, paintings are modified and changed by the sounds you hear by looking at them. I've said that as soon as the meaning of a language becomes transmissible, this meaning is liable to be manipulated and transformed. It's no longer a constant. It's changed by the counter which moves, by words put around it, by music played over it. Now lastly, meanings can be changed in another way. When meanings are reproduced, they become a form of information which is being continually transmitted, and so there they have to hold their own against all the other information which is jostling around them to appear on the same page or the same screen. The meaning of an image can be changed according to what you see beside it or what comes after. Let's try a last experiment. We put the image of this well-known painting by Goya on your screen. You look at it in the context of what I'm saying, in the context of my image in relation to it. But supposing you have just turned on to this channel from one of the other two, then you might see something like this.
Some years ago, all men them happened to go on the show. His ass down, went through, he was mad. The stars of the show for somebody else.
And supposing now you turn off our channel onto one of the others. Each time the impact of the going up is modified. I now emphasize the ways in which reproduction makes the meaning of works of art ambiguous. This is not as negative as it necessarily sounds if we realize what is happening. What it means, in theory, is that reproduction of works of art can be used by anybody for their own purposes. Images can be used like words but to talk with them. Reproduction should make it easier to connect our experience of art directly with other experiences. You can sometimes see how naturally this begins to happen when, for instance, children or adults pin up reproductions alongside snapshots or their own drawings or pages from magazines. There, everything belongs to the same visual language used for describing or recreating the experience. What so often inhibits such a spontaneous process is the false mystification which surrounds art. For instance, the artwork depends on reproductions. Yet often, what the reproductions make accessible, a text begins to make inaccessible. What might become part of our language is jealously guarded and kept within the narrow reserves of the art expert. These last two great paintings by Franz Hals portray the governors and the governesses of an almshouse for old paupers in the Dutch 17th century city. Hals, an old man of over 80, was destitute. Most of his life he had been in debt. During the winter of 1664, the year he began painting these pictures, he obtained 3 loads of peat on public charity. Otherwise, he would have frozen to death. Here, he paints the official portraits of the administrators of such public charity. Reproductions colour or in black and white, showing the whole or showing details. Make these two paintings easily accessible. In this is how these images are introduced.
Each woman stands out with equal clarity against the enormous dark surface, yet they are linked by a firm rhythmical arrangement and a subdued diagonal pattern formed by their heads and hands. Subtle modulations to the deep, glowing blanks contribute to the harmonious fusion of the whole and form an unforgettable contrast to the powerful whites and vivid flesh tones, where the detached strokes reach a peak of breadth and strength. In the portrait of the men, House's old tendency of creating an impression of casual informality and the instantaneousness recurs. But the pictorial unity appears less accessible than in earlier works. The intense light areas of the flesh tones, the great expanses of white linen, and the daringly broad red touch on the knee of the man on the right tend to jump and are not fully integrated into a coherent design.
That is a quotation from the most comprehensive book on House in English, which is published last year. It's as though the author wants to mask the images, as though he fears their direct